If you would have asked me what my worst case scenario for what microtransactions could look like in the future, I don't think what we're going to talk about today would have been on the list. Sega is bringing gaming to a new low. A phrase I never thought I would ever say, but damn, does it suit it so well. On this channel, I've tried to do my best to make videos with the intent of raising consumer expectations, at least for my viewers, because if I can even enact even a small bit of change, that is something that's better than nothing. Because there are things that we should pay for and there are things that we should not pay for. And one of the things that we should never pay for are core game mechanics. And that's what we're going to talk about today. In an article from PC Gamer by Molly Taylor titled "Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is making the utterly bizarre decision to lock New Game Plus behind a $15 upgrade. Sega is gating a very normal and staple RPG feature behind its premium editions." Guys, I'm going to be honest. When I read this headline, I actually didn't know how to make a video about this because the premise of it is so absurd to begin with. It's difficult for me to really voice all of my issues that I have with this. This is so slimy, so grimy, that the $50 to $100 Diablo 4 expansion looks like a good deal. This is ridiculous. It's absurd. And what's worse is that Sega has done such a great job at building up all of this goodwill over the last few years, especially with the Yakuza franchise. That has been a franchise that has been a staple for that company for a long time. And for them to do this in the one franchise that people absolutely love them for, man. Molly Taylor writes, "When it comes to trying to experience everything a sprawling 100-hour RPG has to offer, New Game Plus can often be an essential tool for running through a game a second or a third time without causing too much psychological damage. Some games, like the Persona series, even require New Game Plus if you want the full completionist adventure. It makes it all the more baffling, then, that Sega's upcoming Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is locking its New Game Plus mode behind its Deluxe and Ultimate editions, which cost an extra $15 and $40 on top of the base game, respectively. This is a series which traditionally has featured its own features locked behind New Game Plus runs, such as a legendary difficulty mode. Specifically, New Game Plus is being folded into the Master Vacation bundle, which isn't included with the game's base version. According to the game's official website, the bundle also includes a bonus dungeon, special Sujimon, a Pokemon-like mode, resort guests, outfits, and more. Now, for me to add on to what Molly Taylor's talking about, core game modes like New Game Plus are meant to give players more replayability of a game. What's utterly bizarre about this move is that the replayability helps to sell future content for the game, whether that's microtransactions or expansion DLC. The longer they play, the more they pay. Not only is this disgusting that they're paywalling New Game Plus, but it's also incredibly boneheaded of a move for Sega to do because it's contradictory to how games monetize themselves in the future. Now, imagine just for a second, you just finished the campaign for Diablo 4. You're about to head into World Tier 2, 3, whatever it is. Sorry, man, I know you want to do those Nightmare Dungeons, but you should have got the Ultimate Edition. That sucks. Baldur's Gate 3, you know those characters you love so much, those side stories, learning about them, romancing them. Oh, the romance scenes. Sorry, Super Ultimate Mega Supreme Edition. You didn't think to get that, did you? Silly. I realize that this isn't a one-to-one comparison for New Game Plus, but I'm just trying to illustrate the absurdity of locking core game features behind a paywall. Because these features are there specifically to keep you in the game longer, playing the game longer, which then leads to more sales for that company. Not just in microtransactions, because obviously the longer you're in that game's world, the likely you are to purchase more things from them, but also because it continues to keep the game relevant for longer. The longer a game's being played, the more it's being talked about to other people, the more people hear about the game, watch the game on Twitch or YouTube or wherever, and more sales end up coming as a result. So the idea of locking a core game feature that gives the game replayability at all is just my brain turned off. I would imagine whoever came up with this idea also had theirs turn off. Taylor continues with, frustratingly, none of the specifics are included on the game's Steam page. It lists out each edition and what bundles you get for them, but it fails to detail what's included in each one. That means if you're just going by the Steam page, it's perfectly reasonable to assume that a series which traditionally included New Game Plus for no extra price would in fact have it in its standard edition. It feels a little rancid to me to have such a basic feature require at least a $15 upgrade in order to have. Sure, you get a couple of other goodies for your pleasure, but they're considerably more optional in nature. And she's right, it is rancid, because in most occasions when we're buying Ultimate, Mega, Super Deluxe editions and all the extra bells and whistles, it's just that. Extra bells and whistles, it's mostly optional content, though I guess from the eyes of Sega, playing their game is also optional at this point. But the thing is that when we're looking at something like New Game Plus, this is often seen as a core mechanic because many games, including the Yakuza games, have used it to be able to deliver alternative stories, different endings, or just completely different modes of game to play. You could play a game like Nier Automata. Yeah, you could play a single playthrough. However, that's really only 1/3 or 1/4 of the entire experience. Armored Core 6 is another really good example of this. Playing the game through one time isn't the full experience. There's all kinds of different endings, more story to be told, more experiences to be had, more game to play. And a lot of these things have been designed specifically for the base game experience, for the main narrative experience. So by paywalling these kind of things, you're actually actively hurting the end product as a result. You're destroying the narrative that your writers have been working so hard to make in the first place. You're actively making your product worse and also cutting off potential consumers that would have bought more things in the future. How stupid are you? Now, in the last part of Molly Taylor's article, she brings up how, of course, there is a chance that this could be some rather confusing wording on Sega's part, but considering one Eagle Eye Redditor noticed this situation about a month ago and got in touch to be told, yep, this is legit, I'm not too confident. Regardless, I've asked Sega for clarification about the situation, and I'll update this article if I hear anything back. And that was 4 days ago, and she still hasn't updated the article. I went and checked the initial Reddit thread, and sure enough, there was a user over on the Yakuza Games official Reddit that had asked Sega support specifically about whether or not the New Game Plus was held in the Master Vacation Pack, and sure enough, they responded saying, I have checked back and can confirm the New Game Plus function is indeed only available with the Master Vacation Pack. We hope this information is of use. Best regards. Oh, sweet summer child. I commend them for hoping that this is just a nightmare, a silly little mistake. But however, this is something that's a part of their major promotional material, and it's also on the official website for the game as well. So I have a hard time believing otherwise. And this isn't the first time that we've seen a company try to do something like this in the past. And maybe it wasn't New Game Plus, but back in the day, we saw Destiny with the Curse of Osiris DLC, where we had access to strikes and raids and dungeons. However, the minute that DLC came out, they locked all of that behind a paywall, and we could no longer interact with content we already had access to before then. So this isn't the first time that a company is going to attempt something like this, and this isn't the last time that a company is going to try to do something like this either. We've seen this time and time again. They just wait for the first company to make the first mistake, but it's not really a mistake in their eyes. They're just waiting for the first guy to step on the hot coals, and then they use him as a bridge to walk right over him while they're getting burned, and they just steal all of our money. When I purchase a full-priced game, I expect to receive a complete experience, including all of the core gameplay mechanics. However, if these features are locked behind additional payments, is my initial purchase complete? No, it's not. We've already been fed lines by studios in the past claiming that the purpose of microtransactions and these larger editions of games are just there to further the ongoing development of a game, to give us more content, or just to add a couple extra bells and whistles. However, this is what we know is the ultimate end goal of predatory monetization. Less game for more money ad infinitum. What Sega is doing is setting a precedent. This practice will lead to more developers locking essential parts of their games behind extra payments, establishing a norm where we, as consumers, are required to pay more for a full experience of a game. to the point where this is now turning into economic exclusion. Not that it hasn't already been for years, but not everyone can afford to pay beyond the initial game price. Locking core gameplay features behind progressively more expensive editions of a game is going to prevent a large portion of the community from experiencing an entire game in the future. We've had a lot of discussions on this channel where I've talked about different things that I think are and are not worth my money, mostly just to try to bring awareness to some of these topics that I think while we do talk about them, most people just go the doomer approach and say, well, it's just going to be the silent majority that's going to keep buying it, so it doesn't matter whether or not I think about it. And that's such a stupid thing to think, because even the smallest bit of change is still change. And if anybody is bringing these kind of discussions, thinking about the things that we should and shouldn't buy, this is one of those things that we should not buy and we need to be talking about. Because this isn't something that we would normally see in a DLC. This isn't game files that we discovered and said, hey, you know, it was in the original game. Why are they making us pay for this? No, this is something that has always been a staple part of just about every video game release, especially games like a Dragon. So for us to start paying for these kind of things and then not talking about it, for it not to be the forefront of discussion, is ridiculous. This is something that we have to be talking about. We have to be sharing it and discussing it and bringing it to the forefront of discussion every chance that we get, because this is not something that we want to see going on into the future. Because what this means is the next thing we're going to see is, oh, you want to play hard mode? Ah, man, you're going to have to buy the hard mode edition because, well, you know, most players, they only play story or normal. So making a hard mode, it's a little bit of extra work, and we're going to have to charge you for that. So it's going to be about $15 if you want hard mode. Now, if you want super hard mode, that's going to run you real high. That's the future we're headed to. Whatever that Unity CEO had said before about wanting to be able to make us buy ammo in games in the middle of a match. We're headed right for that at this point. And I'm not sitting here trying to tell you guys how you need to spend your money. That's on you. Do what you need to do. Do what makes you happy. But I can't think of anybody that would be happy paying for things that have always been included in products they've been purchasing for as long as they can remember. And this is one of those situations. And it will only get worse from here. Why? Because this is Sega doing it. It's not even one of the most notorious of the worst AAA developers or anything like that. It's not even close. This isn't Activision or EA. This is Sega. Out of all companies. What does that tell you? It tells you that the industry, for the most part, at least on the higher levels, is laughing at us. They see how much of a pushover we've become, and we'll just pay for just about anything at this point. Now they're just taking a random stab to see what we're just going to throw back out there, and yeah, we're just going for it. How many times we've had discussions on this channel it's telling a story is what it's doing, because we've talked about it in the past. Developers coming out talking to us about, we work really hard on our games and gaslighting us, so that they can sell us slop, but then tell us that we still need to pay full price for it and then wait for them to be able to patch and fix it later. How many of these companies are using different currencies inside their video games to obfuscate that currency and then charge us more for it and quite literally scam us out of money. Something that legislatures, for some odd reason, don't even see. Don't even get me started on that. I made a video about that. Nobody watched that. You need to go watch that. I'm going to put that up on the screen right here. This is just disgusting is what it is. I don't have a whole lot of words for this, because it's such an absurd situation to be in, where we're looking at a feature like this being sold in a video game. Unbelievable. Paywalling something that makes us come to play a game in the first place. What is the point of us buying that game? Is it really worth it at that point? No, it's not. And I understand that games are getting more expensive by the day. Obviously, inflation, but then also they have to pay their guys higher wages, so that's going to increase the price of games. However, that doesn't mean that we should be getting a lesser experience as a result of that. No, quite the opposite. They need to look to see how they can deliver more value to us and make more money. We shouldn't be paying for less, we shouldn't be paying more for less. It should still be an equal exchange, but we're getting further and further away from that. And most of it's just because, I don't know, lack of self-control, I guess. Again, I'm not trying to tell people how to spend their money, but at some point in time, we got to reflect on this. And I don't even think it's just the silent majority thing. It's not taking the time to bring these conversations into the light as often as we possibly can. And then also at the same time, not sitting back and saying, yeah, no, true. True's in the chat. And then everybody goes and buys it anyway. At that point, why? Why even complain about it? Just suck it up, eat the slop, and enjoy. I, for one, not buying this game, which is incredibly difficult to do because I actually just bought the last game on the last Steam sale. I was looking really forward to playing the game, and I also saw the reviews for Like a Dragon come out, and it's a 9 out of 10 from most reviewers. That's incredibly tempting. That's super sad because it's a game that I guarantee I would probably enjoy. I'd have a lot of fun with, but I normally only buy the base version, so that means I wouldn't get the full experience. I'm not going to tell people. Part of me wants to tell people not to buy this game. But again, I don't tell people what to do. But if I were you, I wouldn't buy it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, subscribe to the channel or think about supporting the channel if you'd like. I have a Patreon link down below. Outside of that, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, my friends. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.